Welcome back to the Kendall Moore Show on WBON 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago, the voice of the nation. That's right, it's me. It's Westside Will.
The one and only.
Sitting across from Mr. Kendall Moore. So sit back, relax, put your mind at ease. Westside Will's on top to take you to your next stop during this second hour of the Kendall Moore Show. Our next guest, he is currently on the line. Yes, he is here. He is a school psychologist, an author, a lecturer, a community activist whose ideology is pan-Africanism. Please welcome Mr. Dr. Umar Johnson. Hello, sir. How are you? What's up, black man?
Peace and black power. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I am honored. Let me say I'm honored, privileged, and pleasured. I've been watching you for quite a while, and I gotta say, you're kind of impressive, but you get a lot of heat, man. You get a lot of heat.
That's all right. I love the heat. I'm a Leo, August, baby.
Yeah, I know about y'all. So I know I've given people an ideal about you, but could you elaborate on that a little bit more, doctor?
Certainly. I'm a doctor of clinical psychology. As you said, I'm a certified school psychologist, certified school principal, founder of the National Independent Black Parent Association, author of Psychoacademicholocaust, the Special Education and ADHD War Against Black Boys. And next month, my second book, Black Parent Advocate, The Art of War for Dealing with America's Racist Public and Charter Schools, will be coming out as well. Blood relative of the great Frederick Douglass and former Minister of Education of Marcus Garvey's UNIAACL.
Well, I got to tell you, that is quite a pedigree, sir. Now, you are in many ways very controversial. I don't think you're really controversial as people think. I think they take you out of context. But what do you say about people? What do you have to say about people who kind of disagree with some of your philosophies as it relates to let's say homosexuality and your political stances?
Yes, sir. I would say that my goal whenever I speak or engage the community is to make people think. My goal is to motivate original thought, deep critical analysis. It is not to create robots. So I guess one of the biggest misconceptions is that I go into a conversation hoping everyone will see my perspective, which is not the truth. We as African people suffer from the paralysis of analysis. We do not use our minds. So even if you disagree with everything I say, if I forced you to use your own intellectual apparatus for once, then I have succeeded.
Okay, so let me ask you about that. Do you think that people have that paralysis because of maybe the white authority that may be in their minds? Do you think they have a white authority complex?
That's the overarching principle of mass religious indoctrination through the black church, mass public school indoctrination through Chicago public schools, and then mass social indoctrination through the media, as well as politically uneducated grassroots leaders and disingenuous elected officials.
Dr. Johnson, Kendall here. So, mad love. I mean, I can't say it any other type of way. And peace and blessings to you, man. I rock with you hard, real talk, and that's those are facts. We're celebrating Juneteenth right now. I'm looking at the TV as we talk right now. There's racial justice rallies that are happening across the country. Dr. Johnson, what's your take on where we are, the current state of black people right now? Like immediately, like where we at?
Honestly, in my honest, humble opinion, I believe this is a rerun of the Barack Obama administration. And what I mean by that is that the election of Barack Obama delivered absolutely no gains to African American people as a identifiable political constituency. It was a lot of hype. It was a lot of hoopla. It was a lot of illusion of inclusion politics, but nothing materialized for us. And I'm afraid that the 2020 black protest for justice is sadly marching down the same road. And I say that for three reasons. Let me first say that I'm proud of those brothers and sisters who took to the streets. Had they not done that, those police who murdered our brother George Floyd would have never been arrested. Officer Chauvin would have never had his charge upgraded to first-degree murder. This conversation about police genocide would not be happening. So, yes, they were necessary. Yes, the protests were relevant, and I'm proud of those brothers and sisters who engaged in those protests across the country. But with that being said, there were mistakes made, and the biggest mistake was that we allow white folk to infiltrate and dominate the body of the protest. Those protests should have remained exclusively black, and the reason for that is because now our narrative is being diluted, polluted, and everyone else's agenda is being included in on the conversation. I'm sure you heard about the Supreme Court decision the other day that said the 1964 Civil Rights Bill protects the employment of LGBTs and homosexuals. No disrespect to them, but Dr. King and our ancestors did not march for that. They marched for us. So even while we are protesting for justice, what we protested for is being extended to other so-called minority groups, and we are being ignored. Number two, isn't it interesting that after nearly 4 weeks of protest, the most massive protest in the history of this country since the 68 Dr. King assassination protest and the 1967 Red Hot Summer protest, where more than 30 cities erupted in race riots and protests, this has been 52 years in the making, and yet you have no identified leadership, you have no identified spokesperson, and there is no identified political platform. In other words, there is no list of demands that have come from Black America to the United States government. None after 4 weeks, which means the Democratic Party and the Congressional Black Caucus and opportunistic Democrats and Joe Biden and everyone else gets to dictate what black people should get as a result of the protest, because we never articulated that ourselves.
Man, say that. Say that. Yeah. I could not have said that any better. I could not have said that any better. With regards to the allies, Dr. Johnson, those
we don't have no allies.
We don't. Okay, let's talk about that. Tell me, give me your position.
We don't have no allies. Listen.
Okay.
Those young white kids who are out there protesting, they're not out there for Black Lives Matter. They're out there because they were quarantined in for months. They have lost their jobs. They didn't get their stimulus checks. They don't agree with their president, and they don't agree with the direction that their nation is taking. Had we not been on a COVID quarantine, you would have not seen that many white folks involved in the marches. It was not for black life. It was for disagreement with their government.
That's definitely an interesting perspective.
Definitely. I agree with him. Well, Dr. Umar, that aside, let me ask you, what do you specifically have to say to, because I have gotten a lot of texts in my DMs from my LGBTQ brothers and sisters. You know what I mean? And they are really upset. They disagree with you on some things. What do you have to say to them? What do you want to say to them? Because they seem to think that you are anti them, and that you are hateful toward them. That's what they seem to think.
Yeah, it's what they seem to think, but that is not the truth. I became a psychologist because I wanted to help black people and all people feel better about themselves. That's why I became a psychologist. I do therapy, have done therapy with LGBTQ members, and I have no issue doing therapy with them. My disagreement with them is not personal nor emotional. It is political. What do I mean by that? I love all African people, whether you are gay or straight. I can sit down and have a conversation with a homosexual brother. I can sit down and have a conversation with a lesbian sister and give her a hug and a kiss after we're done. My issue is political. I disagree with the propagandizing of the LGBT movement as one that is equal to the African-American struggle for justice. Homosexuals were not enslaved systematically. Homosexuals were never dehumanized systematically. It was never illegal for homosexuals to get an education. You cannot equate sex with race. You cannot create your behavior with my being. Here's the question that I have for them. Again, no hatred whatsoever. I entertain conversations with them. I love all black folks, gay or straight, but I disagree with the political agenda that seeks to equate the LGBT struggle with ours. And my question for them would be simply this. Can you give me one benefit? Because it's all about pragmatic political progress. Pragmatic political progress. Can you give me one benefit that will accrue to the African American community and our children with the open and free expression and propagandization of the LGBT lifestyle? Only 1 out of every 4 black women gets married in this country. 1 out of 4. If you're going to condone a movement that openly advocates that lifestyle to young children, you're going to reduce the amount of black men that are available to our women. And if you allow that, you basically have become an enemy of the traditional black family structure.
Dr. Umar Johnson is here with us, 1690 AM WVON 591-1690. That is the number to connect to the phone lines. We go. Eric, how you doing? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Yes, how you doing? I just want to say that I'm a type of person that I believe in positive solutions. And what I mean by that is that we have to look at our situation from an economic standpoint and become self-reliant. Until we become self-reliant, then everything that's going on now is basically propaganda. Like, for example, taking Aunt Jemima off the syrup bottle and taking Uncle Ben off the rice box, taking the Confederate flag down the NASCAR and things like that. That's all that is just propaganda. We need to get together, put our money together, and help ourselves on one hand. And the other thing is with the educational aspect, if we bring Black history back into our schools, it would kill 2 birds in 1 stone. It would teach our children about themselves and where we come from and what we have achieved, and it also will show white America what we are about, because they don't understand us, as far as that goes. So
Eric, I got to let you go. We got a number of people on the call. I appreciate you checking in. Right. Thank you very much. All right, thank you. Right. Hey, let's go to Eddie Reed. Eddie Reed, how you doing? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Brother Kendall Moore, man, you got it fired up. Let me be very, very quick.
Dr. Umar Johnson is on the line with us, sir.
Yes, sir. I know that.
Okay.
So, brother, Dr. Umar Johnson, brother Eddie Reed, you can follow up tomorrow from 2 to 4 on this channel, and it'll be the same thing. What Dr. Johnson is saying is what we in the street call the overlay for the underplay.
Feeling. Go ahead.
And what happened is, if you Big George Perry Floyd would never have been invited to a Black Lives Matter meeting. He wouldn't even been able to allow to march with them. And so there are those of us on the street who get it, and we are now moving on Black Man Stand. We are going to stand on Father's Day, and I don't want to take up your time, brother, but tune in from 2 to 4 tomorrow, 1690. We're going to pick up right where Dr. Umar Johnson left off, and brother, you're welcome to join us.
Hey, brother Eddie, I want to say this to you. I rock with your show, and I really want to say that to you, man. You have an excellent show. All right, peace on that.
It's all about fact.
Yes, sir. Let's go to John. John, how you doing? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Good evening, and good evening to your guest. I agree with him 110% on everything that he mentioned. We don't know how great Barack Obama could have been if he would have had the House and the Senate. He didn't have control of the House and the Senate. So I do kind of agree with you. Even if he didn't have control of the House and the Senate, it looks like he just played along to get along, to go along, and wasn't telling us everything that we need. And I do agree with him. I'm happy that the young people are out there, because this is their future. If Biden gets in there or not, if he gets in there, if he thinks he's going to have a free ride, it's not going to happen.
Understood. Thank you. Hey, so listen, let me ask you this, Dr. Johnson. Let me ask you this. When you hear these type of comments from people in support of what you are stating, how do we get people moved into the right mind frame of what really is working and what isn't working? Because the inner fighting, to me, is counterproductive. If you got black people telling other smart black people, like, I'm not right, I don't agree with that. It's counterproductive. Now you got 2 smart black people arguing with one another. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's the answer to
Well, we can agree to disagree without being disagreeable. It's only when we become disagreeable that the conversation disintegrates into chaos. We have to be able to challenge each other's opinions because contradictions have to be exposed, okay, and they have to be reconciled in order for us to move forward as a people. One of the first things we have to do is we do have to find out where people are aligned politically. Do you believe in self-determination, or do you believe we need white folks to walk around and hold our crutches for us as we move forward in this world? I mean, we got to get over that point. And something you said earlier that I thought was very brilliant when you spoke of how you have many power players in the city of Chicago, beginning at the top with Mayor Lightfoot. But here's the thing. Black votes may have put Mayor Lightfoot in the mayor's office, but it was white money that financed her campaign.
Yep.
Hence, one of the biggest mistakes we make as the African-American community. And let me be clear, voting is not the most important thing that you do in the political process. It is not. The most important thing you do in the political process is finance the campaign of the person you want to carry out your agenda.
Right.
Black America never does that. We don't finance nobody. And then when they betray us, we call them sellouts. But if we never sold out first, they could have never sold out second. Finance your candidates, or they will always betray you.
You are absolutely right, sir, because that's what I do, and I see it all the time. Yeah, and I agree with you. So let me ask you, Doctor, what do you think about people who say that you are going around using hate speech? Because look, I've seen this guy Milo Yiannopoulos, and he's for Breitbart. He stopped in 2017 for speaking for them, but of course he was going around the college campuses talking about white supremacy and white superiority. How do you reply to people who sit here and say that you're basically trying to dictate the same thing but on the black hemisphere?
I would ask for the evidence. I mean, let's look at it now. I have more videos on YouTube than any scholar alive, even though I don't have a channel. That speaks to the love I get from our community. People love my message so much, they upload it more than people who promote themselves. Number two, I speak around the world more than any scholar alive. I have more information out there on my perspective than any other scholar of our race in the world. Show me the evidence of hate. Me saying that the black man should only be dating the black woman, how is that hate? Me saying that the open promotion of homosexuality is going to destroy the traditional black family, that's a fact. How is that hate? When people accuse me of that, I always ask for the evidence, and to date, I have got no evidence to prove it. To make the accusation is one thing. To prove it is something else. I am a love teacher. I am not a hate teacher, but I am so unapologetically African and in defense of my people. Those who are not used to us being that strong and alpha as black males will confuse intense love with hate.
all the time? Let's go back to the phone lines. Dean, how you doing? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show. Dean, going once. G, go ahead. Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I got you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're on.
I heard a mention of Lightfoot. And Lightfoot was a distraction in the election for Chicago mayor. It was Preckwinkle who served at the job. And it was mostly black women who kept pushing Lightfoot because she's homosexual. So that's another issue, because this whole homosexual thing, it's mostly black women who push it. And because there are no black men with a strong spy in the household to fight against them. Homosexuality is the death of the black family. And this is the thing.
Right.
It's either Pan-Africanism or death. If you're Pan-Africanist, you have a certain stance you have. And also, in the daughter, the black situation in America, it's either repatriation or retaliation. One of those two. That's it.
All right. Thank you very much. Dean, how you doing? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Yeah, as I was saying, it seems a lot of unintended consequences because, what Dr. Johnson is saying is that the legislation, civil rights, was intended for black people. But the opposition put in another category of people, and they put in sex as one of the categories. Now, I don't think at that point, I wasn't there, but I don't think at that point they were thinking of homosexuality and transgender. They probably were thinking about women, So women would get the benefits. But unintendedly, now that the homosexual agenda is so rampant, it now becomes applicable. So you can't fault people like the DACA people for taking advantage, because after all, it is a law. And if we're a country of laws, then we just have to follow the law. And as far as Barack Obama and what he did or didn't do, well, you know, I wouldn't want him to be a candidate for assassination before his first term would have ended. So that's my comment.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Dr. Johnson, listen, again, man, you always have a place here at the Kendall Moore Show. I
got one more thing, my brother.
No. I'm not finna let you go. I was just letting you know because we're running up against the clock. I just wanted to say that before we run up against the clock. But the floor is yours. Real talk. Go ahead.
Okay. Number one, these empty symbols that they're taking down around the country is a distraction. Okay. We don't have a problem with the Confederate flag being removed. We don't have a problem with Robert E. Lee statue being removed. We don't have a problem with Aunt Jemima changing the logo and the name and Uncle Ben's rice. But those are superficial, cosmetic changes. America doesn't need cosmetic surgery. America needs intense, organic surgery. Rip the damn heart out, rip the lung, rip the spleen. And I'm afraid that we are going to fall for these superficial changes. We don't want that. These police protests began over police accountability. Why haven't I heard a single member of the Congressional Black Caucus, Democratic Party, Republican Party, NAACP, Urban League, Van Jones, Al Sharpton, or anyone else talk about mandatory minimum sentences for police who unjustifiably execute black people? We haven't heard about consequences yet. We keep hearing about outlawing the chokehold, making police records public, giving them diversity training. We don't care about that. We want prosecutions for police who kill black people, and that conversation hasn't started yet.
So, Dr. Johnson, to your point, what do you think about this march or this convening that's scheduled to happen the end of August that Reverend Al Sharpton, I don't know if he's putting it together, but he certainly put the call out. What do you think about that? Do you think it will be impactful?
Empty symbolism. Al Sharpton is going back to D.C. to memorialize the 1963 Dr. King March on Washington. It's just another empty symbol. That's all black people do now. It's empty symbols. We'll get a Million Man March over here. We're going to march on D.C. over here. We're going to one-day protest over here. Let me be clear. We need a movement, not a moment. We need a movement, not a moment. But our leaders have gotten so politically lazy, and let us be honest, the average black person has also gotten politically lazy, that we're not interested in that protracted, everyday, sustained commitment type of a movement. We want to go to some event for one day and then go back home and then claim we struggled for black liberation.
Dr. Umar, I want to ask you, what's your stance on gun rights?
I believe that as long as guns are legal, black people better get some. The worst thing we can do is strip our people of their right to defend themselves, because guess what? These white folk, they got theirs. And them hillbillies, they got theirs. We need to be able to protect ourselves in the event of martial law, in the event that white folks are deputized to kill black people, which is something that has occurred regularly in American history. I am in total support of black people owning and bearing arms as long as it is a constitutional right.
All right, so hold on. I got to interject because I see all the hands. Dr. Johnson, we have a number of callers who are trying to get in to talk to you. I got to ask you out loud. Can I keep you over, man? Can you hold on for me?
Absolutely.
Can we get to the... Hey, everybody,
Absolutely.
So Dr. Johnson is going to stay with us. We're going to break tradition. We're gonna hold them over, and we're going to get to these calls. Don't touch the dial. It's the Kendall Moore Show, 591-1690. That is the number to connect. We'll have Dr. Johnson, Umar Johnson, for the next, at least over, on the next hour to take the rest of these calls. Don't touch the dial.
Now Masks optional, another record. I'm Jan Johnson. Oklahoma Supreme Court has rejected arguments to require masks and social distancing at President Trump's rally tomorrow night. Vice President Mike Pence says that's okay.
We're taking the appropriate measures. People are going to be temperature checked on their way in. They'll be provided hand sanitizers and masks. But this is really about freedom. This is about the American people having an opportunity to let their voice be heard.
The vice president appeared on Westwood One's Mark Levin show. Tulsa's mayor says he's lifting a curfew around the rally at the request of the Secret Service. Florida has set another daily record for an increase in coronavirus cases. Our Steve Kastenbaum reports.
Governor Ron DeSantis said Florida's rise in new coronavirus cases is due to more testing. He claimed that the median age in positive cases ranges from the late 20s to the early 40s, depending on the county.
A lot of the people who are testing positive now are not symptomatic.
He said it's a myth that Florida's hospitals could run out of capacity. Miami-Dade Mayor Carlos Jimenez.
Yesterday's dashboard indicates that we had 2,696 beds available.
The governor said nursing home residents who test positive for coronavirus are now being isolated in different facilities.
Just days after they reopened, nearly a dozen Apple stores in Florida, Arizona, and the Carolinas are closing again. Correspondent Christina Alessi.
In terms of the impact to the bottom line, it's not about that because Apple has about 270 stores across the U.S. What it is about is the confidence in the economy to reopen, and that's why we saw the market head lower.
It's been a roller coaster week on Wall Street, but the Dow Industrials ended it on a 208-point decline. The S&P 500 fell by more than 0.5%. I'm Jan Johnson.
Paid for by Bank on Yourself. Would you get on an airplane if you knew it had a 50% chance of crashing? You may be riding that plane right now. If you have your money in a 401k or IRA and you plan to take out the recommended percentage each year when you retire, your chance of running out of money is 50%. 50%. But there's a better and safer way to secure your income in retirement. Discover how in a free book called Rescue Your Retirement. This wealth building strategy has never had a losing year in more than a century. In fact, even the man who invented the 401k now prefers this method instead. Get Rescue Your Retirement free for just a small shipping charge and enjoy a safe landing and a comfortable retirement. Get this free book and make sure you don't run out of money. Hurry, this offer is extremely limited. To get your free copy, just go to growwealthsafely.com. That's growwealthsafely.com to discover how to rescue your retirement. growwealthsafely.com.
A judge says the horse appears to be out of the barn, criticizing President Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton, for failing to get White House approval for his new book, but saying there may be too many copies out there for him to stop it. At the White House, Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany was asked why the president hired someone he now calls a loser.
The president makes hiring decisions based on the fact that he likes to have countervailing viewpoints. I spoke to him this morning about the hiring of John Bolton in particular, and he said, I like to counterbalance my own opinion with individuals that oftentimes have the very opposite opinion of my own. He likes the model of having a team of rivals, like what we saw in President Lincoln's administration.
Republicans in Georgia are tossing what's being called a political grenade into efforts to come up with a compromise on hate crimes legislation. GOP senators are adding first responders, including police, as a protected class. I'm Jan Johnson.
Hello, WVON family. My name is Keith Nelson of Certified Heating. We have proudly been servicing the Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana areas for over 35 years. We are here to help you and your family with your heating and air conditioning needs all year round. We have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. We're a 5-star rating with Google. We offer train gas furnaces with a starting price of $17.95 with a 10-year manufacturer parts and labor warranty. Boilers starting at $26.95. And water heaters starting at $10.95. Whether you are in need of a repair, new installation, or maintenance, our highly trained technicians are ready to serve you. Call us today at 708-283-4695. That's 708-283-4695. And tell them that you heard about us on WVON.
Sales, service, installation, Certified Heating, LLC. Quality services at affordable prices. Call 708-283-4695. Near North Health Service Corporation is hosting a virtual Men's Health Week event now through June 19th. This year, we're addressing the contributing factors that lead to health disparities among African American men. At Near North, we're all about heightening the awareness of preventable health issues, promoting healthy lifestyles, and encouraging early detection and treatment of disease in men. Visit Near North Winfield Moody, 1276 North Clybourne Avenue, or Comet Holman, 4259 South Berkeley, now through June 19th to receive health screenings and tests for COVID-19, hypertension, cholesterol, blood pressure, and HIV. Lunch and gifts will be provided on June 15th, 17th, and 19th. We're celebrating men's health all week long at Near North Health Service Corporation.
This is Dr. Patricia Van Pelt, president of Wakana for Life, your source for the highest quality CBD in the market for African American women. Wakana for Life brings you a CBD product that you can trust. Contact me at 847-231-2440. You can get high quality CBD today. Contact me at 847-231-2440.
Some say there's a difference between a father and a dad. Well, regardless of what you call yours, here's a chance to honor them. AARP is celebrating fathers all month long with their Shout Out to Dads in June hotline. Along with the tie, socks, and tools, acknowledge your dad with a personal greeting, and WVOM will play it on air. Call AARP's Shout Out to Dads in June hotline at 773-336-3456. Include your name and theirs in your 15-second message. Call 773-336-3456. Shout out to Dads in June. Powered by AARP.
You're listening to Kendall Moore, radio for the next generation on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 AM, WVON.
It's 9 minutes after the hour. It's the Kendall Moore Show. We stream live at www.von.com, 591-1690. That is the number to connect. I want to remind you guys, we are on Facebook Live right now. Also follow us on Twitter at The Kendall Moore Show. Also on Instagram at The Kendall Moore Show. And the webpage is kendallmooreshow.com. Dr. Umar Johnson is our featured guest has been our featured guest for the last half hour, 40 minutes, and we're blessed to have him for at least another 20 minutes. I got a bank full of calls and people want to talk. So Dr. Johnson, I really appreciate you spending some time with us here on this Juneteenth.
No problem.
Thank you for that. So I'm going to go to the phone lines and and see what people are, see where their minds are. We'll start with and what now? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Hey, what's going on, young people? And Dr. Umar Johnson, it's an honor and a pleasure to speak with you, sir. First of all, you are 1,000,000% correct. My radio name was Art, but I changed it about a month ago to And What Now? And my platform and what I believe 100% strongly in the brothers that will confess it as community codes of conduct and family values. And once we get back to community codes of conduct and family values, we'll be on point. In terms of what went on with the riot and all that other stuff, I had no problem with it. I keep telling people, if you're going to want to change, there's going to be some blood spilled in the street, life lost, and there's going to be some inconvenience. And the people of our time will have to give our money and our time if we're going to move forward. You continue up the good work, and may God continue to bless everyone.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Let's go to Miss Lee. Miss Lee, how are you? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Oh, I'm kind of upset, but what I want to say is, Dr. Johnson, you're the only person that I've heard on the radio, and I listen to WVON all the time, who has actually laid it on the line and said what should have been done. Whenever I see these, we have an issue in our community where our people are being murdered and hung in jail. And if you have, and I'm telling you, I'm not just talking about in jail. I'm talking about going to the police station. I had a friend of mine whose grandson got a ticket, and when he went into the police station the next day, he was hung. So there's a lot of things going on. I had two of my relatives who had 2 people who were hung in jail. And there's a lot of, it's going on everywhere, and we don't have statistics on nothing.
Yeah.
So we march with no figures. This is happening all over the world, and we're not talking about murdering 1 or 2 people. So they're talking about, the school is talking about taking some of the money from the police and for the kids. This whole issue is about murder, and these white have been killing us for the last 100 years almost, and it's time to stop. And that's all we should be talking about, and we should make the pictures so graphic, and then it'll make the whole world cry of what they're doing to us. And it is not happening, and our leaders are not backing up the people, the kids, or the people who are protesting, because they are not doing their job. And the reason that we're in the situation we are in right now is because of no planning, no organization, and incompetent leaders. That's all I have to say.
Ms. Lee, thank you so very much for that. Dr. Johnson, let me ask you, the hangings. She brought up a very good point. 5 hangings, 6 hangings from this
last 2 weeks.
In the last 2 weeks, please expound.
I'm almost certain that those are white racist executions. I am not buying the state narrative that these are suicides.
Yeah.
Black men do not have a history of committing suicide from a tree. We have the history of committing suicide by jumping, by shooting ourselves, and other such means, not by hanging ourselves from trees. That is the state's narrative, because they don't want to open up a civil rights investigation into the systematic hangings of black people, so they're treating them as suicides.
Understood. Back to the phone lines. Pearl, how you doing, sis?
Hey, Kendall. Hi, Dr. Umar. Thank you so much for taking my call this evening. I wanted to say that, in 2016, I lost my son, Courtney Copeland, to gun violence in Chicago. And we also have, in investigating his case, we show that he was treated poorly by the police on the scene, who actually were there supposedly to assist him. And my thing is that, I see all the marches. I see everybody trying to say Black Lives Matter. And I, as a mother who has lost a child, I appreciate that. I appreciate the efforts that they're making. But what we need is legislative change in America. We need actual laws to be changed. And I don't see anyone trying to push the button further than a march. And so when Dr. Umar talked about, Al Sharpton is just trying to do symbolism, I had to call because I totally agree. I need them to get at the table and make legislative change. They don't have the same gumption as Dr. King, because he wanted laws to be changed. The only way that they will stop killing black men in America is if we force them. Economic boycotting, as well as also forcing them to move the legislature in the way that we need it to go. We cannot allow just these superficial Trumpian or Democratic laws to just coddle us. We need real change in America, because today it was my son, but tomorrow it may be yours. And so this is why we have to unite together and make the legislative change. That's when I'm going out there to march, when they marching right into the law house to make a change and make them force them. Just like Johnson said, force me to do it. That's what we need to do. Thank you, Kendall.
Thank you, sis. Appreciate it. Dr. Johnson, I want to turn it.
You know what, Kendall?
Yes.
Let me add this, if I may.
Yeah.
One of the things that is making this situation more complex with regard to passing legislation and introducing hard mandatory minimum sentences for police is that it is an election year. It is an election year. And as you know, with the Democratic front runner, in this case Joe Biden, but it doesn't matter who it is, Obama, Clinton, Jimmy Carter, it doesn't matter. Whenever it's an election year, the white Democratic Party depends on the Congressional Black Caucus to help Black America mellow down their demands. Yep. The fear is if you force Joe Biden to promise Black America too much, he's going to lose out on the moderate white vote. So this is a balancing act. One of the reasons why Black leadership isn't pressing for more change is because they're more concerned about Joe Biden's election than the progress of Black America.
I would agree with you on that, and then I would extend it even further, and not just getting Joe Biden in, but also getting Trump out. But here's a piece about Joe Biden and Amy Klobuchar that I want to mention, and I've mentioned this to people on my show many times. I want to remind everybody that Amy Klobuchar was once the damn prosecutor out in Minnesota, and the very police officer who put his knee in the back of George Floyd, she was there and could have prosecuted him many times and did not do that. So I am happy to see that she did announce that she does not want to. Basically she just became irrelevant to him, because once people found out about it, it was no way for him to win. Now, here's the other piece, too, about Joe Biden. Honestly, and to your point, Dr. Johnson, the only reason he came up is once he got to South Carolina. And once he got to South Carolina, that changed the game for him. But you are absolutely correct. And once they are done with us, we're done. And it goes back to your point yet again. We do not have an agenda. We have the floor right now, but we don't have an agenda. We have pawns and paid puppets sitting in those seats. Let me go back to the phone lines. Aaron, how you doing? Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Hey, I'm good, brother. Dr. Umar Johnson, I'm a huge fan of your work, and I'm looking forward to you in your school, the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, and particularly about, helping Black males develop. I've been watching a lot of your videos, particularly a lot of the videos when you were in the Breakfast Club. And almost like 5 years ago, you were in the Breakfast Club, it was the same thing going on with people protesting. It's like there's momentum, and then it gets quiet, and nobody's talking about it anymore. But specifically, I also think about like the mass incarceration of Black males and that revolving door and the mental health that plights our Black males. And just really kind of get your thoughts on, like, what is the solution? Like, I know right now we're talking about the police brutality, which is an important issue, but I also feel like a lot of times we kind of put the issues of Black men and the challenges that they're going through on the back burner, or never get the attention of things like this, which is really plaguing our communities. It's plaguing the Black men to be at the forefront of the family, and it's taking away our families. And so, Dr. Umar, you had any suggestions or solutions? And we're just curious your thoughts in regards to that.
I think your point is 100% correct. Another negative outcome of this march being overtaken by whites is the fact that the conversation has been tightly controlled by the media and limited only to police brutality. After 4 weeks of protesting, we should not only be discussing police brutality, but the other 4 major issues that affect Black America, which include miseducation, mass incarceration and criminal justice, gentrification. And by the way, Chicago is top 10 in gentrification in the country. And the 5th biggest problem is access to wealth and reparations. You don't hear anything about education, access to wealth, gentrification, and criminal injustice. They are keeping this thing focused on police brutality as a means of protecting Joe Biden's reputation.
Well, I'm going to make sure I mention reparations, because that's what I did earlier. We need our bag, right, Doc?
We need our bag, but we need to make sure that the bag has more in it than cash.
Yep.
Because one of my concerns about the current reparations movement and the direction in which it's heading, and I don't like it, it seems like we have boiled down the entire compensation package for our ancestors to a cash payout.
Yep.
That is a trap and a recipe for disaster. Bob Johnson came out last week with a $14.7 trillion reparations proposal. According to the Bob Johnson model, former owner of BET Television, each African American who's eligible for it, the 42 million of the 50 million who are direct descendants of enslaved Africans, we would each get a $351,000 payout. If you're telling me that $351,000, which is basically a nice car and a nice house, is sufficient compensation for 20 generations of enslavement, we are crazy.
Yeah.
Listen, say that.
You can barely buy a house with that.
God. Well said. Listen, Hassan, you're going to be my last caller. I gotta respect the doc and the integrity of what we're doing. Hassan, go ahead. Welcome to the Kendall Moore Show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I will admit I only called to give accolades to the more I love your show. Two people whose cause I will always support with my finances and watching his YouTube is Dr. Umar Johnson and Dr. Claude Anderson. I've donated to your school. I've donated to Dr. Claude Anderson Harvard Institute because he's the only one who's proficient when it comes to reparations. They really want to discuss reparations, including Roland Martin, Al Sharpton, and all these other so-called bourgeoisies that's in the Boule and all the other esoteric societies. Get in touch with Dr. Claude Anderson because he went to bat for us with his own money for years and years and years. So, Dr. Umar Johnson, I met you before when we came to Chicago at the airport when you said I was a security guard, but I'm not. I'm a Chicago cop. And I still support you and Dr. Claude Anderson in all of your works. And please continue to do what you're doing. I'm always going to support your school. You all have a great evening.
Thank you very much. All right, Dr. Johnson, I got to say again, I really appreciate your time coming on the show this evening. You always have a seat, and I'm going to be bugging you. I ain't going to even lie to you on a whole bunch of different things. How can let folks know how they can get in contact with you, where they should follow you at, and let's give them that information. And again, on behalf of the team, we thank you very much for your presence this evening.
Yep, thank you, sir.
Thank you, brother. They can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dr. Umar Johnson. The website is DrUmarJohnson.com, and we're always looking for brothers and sisters to donate to the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Restoration Project. We have 2 beautiful schools in Delaware that we purchased last year, and we're now in the process of restoring those buildings. You can get and donate at $FDMG School. I repeat, $FDMG School on the Cash App. You can reach out to me by phone, 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858. Peace and Black Power.
Peace and Black Power.
Peace.
Appreciate you, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Thank you, family.
All right.